Good evening and welcome to the March 11th, 2024 meeting of the Akron Public School Boards. Thank you for joining us this evening. Roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Alexander.
Present.
Ms. Autry.
Present.
Ms. Hall.
Present.
Ms. Jackson.
Present.
Dr. Molnar.
Present.
Mr. Perry.
I'm here.
Mrs. Sykes.
Present.
7 present, no absent.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Vice President Jackson, would you please join us or lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Please stand if you're able.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda, item 1.3, Superintendent's Book of the Month Club winners. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Autry. February is a month with so many wonderful holidays such as Valentine's Day and President's Day. But it is also a very special month because we honor Black history. For February, our APS students were encouraged to read books about influential African-American leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Maya Angelou, Harriet Tubman, and Muhammad Ali. I'm pleased to announce the top readers for February. For elementary, we have Resnick Kindergarten student Vince Faris. If Vince is here, is Vince here? Okay. Come, you can bring him up. And Vince read 16 books. And we're just going to kind of formulate a line here. For middle school, we have 5 scholars who tied for first place in reading 9 books. The students are Nang Ung, a sixth grader from STEM Middle School, 3 sixth graders from Ennis, CLC, Caden Bucklew, Zanaya Holland, Bentley Lyons, and Gavin Slowson, a 7th grader also from Ennis. And I want to also make a special shout out to Ms. Summer Lamp, the librarian at Ennis, who is also in the audiences. Where is she? Please come up with us. She does a lot that we don't see, but this is just a little sneak of a preview of the work that she does. And so also, Ms. Kristen Simmons, a 10th grader at Garfield, CLC, is the top reader for high school, and she read 8 books. I also want to recognize the schools with the highest number of books read for elementary. Bridges, CLC, with 146 books. For middle school, STEM Middle School, with 130 books. And for high school, North High School with 115 books read. So again, congratulations to all of our winners. Thank you to our principals, our teachers, our parents, librarians, the community for encouraging our students to read. And we want to thank ACME once again for being our partner in all of this with APS in the donation of the $25 gift cards that each of our scholars receives. So parents, if you are here with your scholar, please come up with them. Our principals, please come up with them, please. Thank you. No?
My big head in the way. Should I move? My big head might be.
Do we need to get further on top right?
I can see everybody. You ready? Smiles and cheese. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's give them all another round of applause, please. Thank you.
And so now we are going to move on to our agenda, item 1.4, community and school reflections. And I'd like to take this time to introduce our student school board member here from Ellet CLC. This is student board member Milan Snooty. He is a senior from Ellet CLC. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President. All right. Good evening. My name is Milan Snooty. I am a senior at Ellet CLC. I am in the Academy of Applied Engineering, and my pathway is automotive technology. I am the current 2024 senior class president, and also this is my first year serving as a scholar board member. In the fall of 2024, I will be attending the University of Akron, and I will be majoring in communications, and I will have a minor in HR. I'm employed at Wingstop as a service manager. I am humbled and proud to be a leader not only within my school, but at my job as well. Today is a difficult day for me because my first car I bought on my own was stolen out of my driveway this weekend. My dad told me, don't worry about the material things. He told me you wasn't robbed or hurt. As a leader, I know I have to stay strong and continue to push through. I'm dealing with school and my insurance company. It says, one of the amazing impacts in my life is my dad. He taught me how to be a young man and how to humble myself in any situation. A second big impact in my life is a safety team member at Ellet who goes by the name of Bobby. Bobby is one of the 3 African American male adults at Ellet. Bobby has impacted my life by building relationships with me and my peers. Bobby has a way of being professional but keeping it real with students. For example, Bobby will see a student walking down the hall with his pants hanging low and call that student over and tell them, pull your pants up and act like you got some sense. Another example is when kids start acting out, Bobby will tell that kid, hey, stop falling out your skin about the little things. Bobby grew up like many of us students. He knows what it's like to be an African-American male in a public school. So many students listen to Bobby because they respect him and respect what he is saying. Bobby is a graduate of Central Howard, and I know this because Bobby actually talks to the students and tells us about his life. A real-life experience I had a couple weeks ago was meeting with board member Bruce Alexander, Principal Ms. Sabetta, Dr. Chapman, Ms. Whitfield, Ms. Atkins, and Mr. DeFabo. We talked about the policy of signs and other items on and around school property. This meeting was held because students at Ellet because students at Elliott felt their voices wasn't heard. My peers are with me today from the Major Not Minor School Diversity Club. Would you please stand? On my behalf and my peers' calls to action for the board is to create additional policies that develop school environments that are welcoming, accepting of many other diverse cultures in Akron public schools. What questions do you have for me at this time? Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Snooty. Does anyone have any questions? Vice President Jackson.
Thank you, young man. I would like, could you expand upon when you say to implement policies to promote more diversity? What does that look like to you?
When we talk about implementing policies within public schools, we will ask, as far as if something is posted and they try to label it as political and it's not political, we need proper policies in place that states that before, we jump to, conclusions on things.
Could you give me an example of what you're referencing?
As far as, like, say if you go into Bookdale and there's something posted as far as a Black Lives Matter sign or etc.
Okay,
And
like in the school posting?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the school posting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Perry.
So I want you to, we were talking before the board meeting started, you and I was very impressed with you for sure. I want you to share with the audience and everybody's watching what your plans are after high school. I know you gave us your major and your minor. Tell them what you told me earlier about your plans.
So my plans after high school, right now I'm in the works of setting up interviews to become a recruiter, because I want to go into HR because my dad is a HR director at CTL. He'd been there for about almost 10 years. And, there's a hidden gem in recruitment, because at the end of the day, you're helping somebody. You're getting somebody a job that has a family. And I'm all about helping people. And I'm all about business as well. So that's the best fit for me. Thank you.
Just follow up. So you talk about being APS proud, right? Hashtag APS proud. I mean, look at this young man. We were talking about that, but when I was in high school, 30 years ago, I didn't have a plan like that. You already know what you're going to do. You got a clear line that you want to go, and that's very impressive, very much so.
Any other questions? Member Hall.
You know me, I never really have tons of questions, just more of congratulations. But you are what excellence looks like. You talk about you want to go into HR.
Absolutely.
So remember, when you're going to school at Akron U, after you finish your first semester, come to the city of Akron and be an intern. Just promoting that. And also, I want to just say, welcome to adulthood. If you can maneuver through the insurance company, you've made it. So good luck to you, and I hope everything works out for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alexander.
Yeah. This is the young man that I spoke about our last board meeting. I got a chance to meet with him and another one of his classmates, and he's a really professional young man already. We know he's going to do well. We want to encourage him to do well, because you know that a lot of our young black males are not succeeding, and he is what success looks like, and we want to make sure that we can get more of our young men to succeed as he is succeeding, because we know he's going to do well. You can see that already. He's already professional. And I want to continue to encourage you to do well, because you really make me proud, okay? And he is my mentee from Elliott High School, so.
Anyone else? So I wanted to ask about the School Diversity Club. Can you share any highlights of any of the work or initiatives or conversations that club has?
Absolutely. So Major Not Minor was founded by a good friend of mine. She's actually in college right now. She goes by the name of Alea Manley. And she founded this school diversity club because there wasn't a club at Ellet, that promoted diversity in all cultures. And we kind of looked for something like that, and she was more so of like, she told me, hey, this was an idea I had, and I got it approved through the board. And major not minor, they celebrate all cultures, like Latino Heritage Month, Black History Month, LGBTQ, and etc. And we promote everybody around the building. It's not just one culture. That's why, hence the word diversity. And it more so of spreads equality around our school because it's open to all, and equality is all. So it's more so they do great work. They do amazing work, and I commend them for it.
So I'm still interested. Can you name a few specific things that they have done in the building?
Absolutely. So major not minor does bake sales. They decorate the school for any upcoming events that's coming up as far as Black History Month or LGBTQ Month. And major not minor, they more so of like, they look at what's going on in our community now, and they try to do what they can to fix it, and it's all about spreading diversity around our schools. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they do bake sales, and they, decorate, and, they promote diversity. So if that's what you were asking, that's the furthest I can answer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much. So you should be commended, as my colleagues have already shared. We wish you well. Expecting to hear great things. Don't forget us. Come back and share all that wonderful knowledge that you're going to continue to gain out in the world. And thank you to your colleagues for just taking that leadership role in your buildings and recognizing things that you want to address and fix, because the answer is always in the mirror. So thank you so much for that.
I just want to ask one. I want to make a statement and ask a follow-up question. My statement is that the leadership qualities that you're displaying is wonderful, that you were able to bring a group of people that represent your diversity board here and have them stand. That was excellent. Because sometimes adults have a problem getting adults to places. So the fact that they were committed, and I know Ms. Whitfield plays a pivotal role in helping our young people. So I want to also acknowledge you again. I don't think we can acknowledge you enough, because it's a true commitment and care that you have for our young people. So excellent job with that. What I want to just highlight very quickly so we can move on in the meeting is when you said the bake sale. When there's having a bake sale, usually you have a bake sale to raise money for something specific. So when they're having a bake sale, what are they trying to raise money for?
I will admit I'm not super active within the club, but I'm pretty sure they take that money and they put it back into the club. So if it's for, we want to get major non-minor T-shirts, or we want to get a banner, or et cetera. So they put that money back into the organization.
I love that type of industrious mindset. That's why I asked about it. I was just talking to Mars. Some people hear about us doing a citywide, district-wide lemonade day, a simple thing to raise money.
Absolutely.
And it just triggered my mind that doing something like that at the end of the year could raise money for clubs that they can put back into their clubs. So that was the point for the question. Thank you.
No problem.
And God bless you.
You as well.
Thank you again, Mr. Snooty, and good luck to you. Okay, are there any other community and school reflections from my colleagues? Member Hall, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I know my nickname was Little Miss Chatterbox. So you guys get to see that now as a grown up. No, but so I visited 2 schools, Harris Jackson with Principal Aller, and having the students take me on tours is such a wonderful feeling because I get them to really tell me about their experience in school. I know that they're excited to have the kindergarten class back, so they can move on with, their class and they're not so far away at the old Essex. But they're sad to see about 200 students go to Barbara through our transition. And I know that the principal wanted to make sure that the parents still had that transportation to and from to different events and still probably be on like different sides of towns and so forth. But, she's getting good feedback from the parents regarding this transition, and she's trying to make this transition as smooth as possible by also taking the students there so that they can meet their teachers and their staff. So I think she's doing a really, really good job at communicating and building new relationships with the new school. I also attended Jennings with Principal Harper. I know Principal Harper, she's awesome. Such a down-to-earth person, and she relates well. She's like the perfect person for that school. But what took me over the moon was their library. So their library at Jennings is not just a library. It is a virtual experience. They use the VR machines or the games to not only is it fun, but they connect with the students in real life. So they took a trip for Black History Month to Washington, D.C. virtually and marched with Dr. King. And I was like, what? That's so cool. It also helps students connect with writing and with the language barrier and things like that with the international community that we have. So I was ecstatic. And the librarian teacher is Gus, and I apologize, Mr. Gus, for destroying your last name, but Firmidus? Thank you, what you said. But, I mean, he was over the moon. Like, he just he started to glow when he was talking about this program and everything that they have in this library. And when teachers glow and they are so excited about what they do, it makes me excited knowing that our students are getting what they need. Also for Black History Month, the I Promise School did a kind of like a round table or a career fair with their 8th grade students. And they had it was a lot of Black or African American professionals at House 330. And the 8th graders went around and they talked to us and they engaged in conversations. And, a lot of them told me what school they wanted to go to. And one kid stood out in particular. He was a photographer, and he carried his camera around and he was just taking pictures and snapshots and told me about, I think he wanted to go to Firestone and just get into the arts, and we have to understand that arts is just not drawing or creating a mural or anything like that. Art is everything. It's fashion, it's photography, it's being an artist, drawing, it's some of everything. So I just wanted to commend I Promise School for opening the doors to those students to get a real live up close of what other professionals in the community are doing. And then lastly, over Friday, I went with an organization, Summit County Continuum of Care, and we went down to Columbus, and we saw this company called the Star House. It's not really a company. It's it provides local youth 14 to 24 who are experiencing homelessness by providing them food, showers, laundry facilities, and a safe place to be. And then when you turn 18 to 24, they provide you with housing. So the city of Columbus purchased old rundown motels, and it provides these 18 to 24-year-old efficiency apartments that they can live in. And I mean, just doing a tour of the housing, it gives you hope. You know, you're not on the street anymore. You have somebody that cares. And I'm like, if we did something like this in Akron, this would be big, especially for our children and families who are experiencing homelessness. If we can help one person at a time or 100 people at a time, we can make a difference in our community. And so that's all I have, but thank you.
Thank you, Member Hall. Any other reflections, Dr. Molnar?
Always. I'll start with March 5th, Akron in Action. We were at House 330, and 300 people from across the country, even Alaska, came and visited our district. And it was just such an exciting and proud moment because we talk about our college and career academies, but to see not just ourselves be excited, but to see the way that we are motivating and exciting other professionals and other school districts and other school leaders across the country. I just want to say, thank you to our college and career academies team. Thank you to everyone. And also, even the performance from the Firestone Singers there, it brought the room to tears. It was so beautiful. And so I know there are probably other people who will talk more about that. So I just want to quickly go through here. Another great performance, Lion King. I want to say thank you to Shenzi for bringing me to see The Lion King because it was amazing. It was such an amazing performance. My son is still talking about the giraffe. For those of you that went, the puppetry of everything, it was more than just a musical. And it's something that we will remember forever. So. And once again, I know other members also saw The Lion King, so I'm not going to go too much, but it was so great. And the last thing I want to talk about, I promised I'd talk about worms. I'm going to bring it up to the worms. Last year, in the summer and in the fall, we talked a lot about Gilby's Garden by Patterson Park, and Mr. Nicolino came and gave a presentation in the partnership with Akron Community Farms and Akron Cooperative Farms, and the Happy Fresh Market with Asian Services in Action, and we talked about the health and the entrepreneurship and things like that. And I found out this year the Garden Club is expanding to Jennings, and also Findlay CLC has 2 raised beds. And on March 1st, I actually visited while they built their greenhouse. There's now a greenhouse at Findlay. So we now have in the North Cluster K-12 gardening. So it really can build into, by the time the students get into high school, they're not being introduced to gardening for the first time, but they really have an understanding of everything, and that's really exciting, especially in an urban district. I don't feel like there are many places that can say that. And as excited as I was the entire time, and I'm very sorry, I'm going to butcher the names because I realized I always had Nick and Seb in my notes, and I had to actually look up your last names. So I'm apologizing now. Nicholas Cachipo, I'm sorry, and Sebastian Ochakaup, but Nick and Seb were the ones that invited me for this greenhouse build, and across the district in 3rd grade, there is a worm project. And this is something that Nick and Seb knew because this is one of the elementary schools. But the question is, what does everyone do with all of their worms after the worm project? And apparently they used to just release them into the wild. But this year, all the worms are coming to Findlay. And they're going to be there and start the new greenhouse. And I've never seen people so excited for worms. So I'm excited for this and the garden, and it was wonderful to see them. And I hope to watch the garden grow. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Molnar. Any other community and school reflections? Vice President Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'll be very brief. My community reflections, I went on Friday. I took 117 of my students from Emmanuel Christian to go see The Lion King. And I think the most riveting moment was the quality of the costumery. And to find out that students teachers and parents made the costumes. And Member Molnar, I remember you came and you passed out some forms because they were fundraising and trying to raise money for the production. And so, I always get into entrepreneurship and industry. So as I sat there with my private Christian school and we took 117 kids, I thought if we were just charged $10 per kid, which we would have paid for a field trip, that could have helped towards a lot of the production costs. And so I think about field trips and nominal expenses. And I said I would bring this up here and even to the board later, that when out-of-district schools come to productions at our school, it would be reasonable and even affordable to charge a nominal price like $10 to help support the programming, right? And because it was that type of quality of programming for young people to put on and to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining, because they do have many fundraising efforts, as I understand, but I couldn't help but think this could have been a cost. They could have charged for this, and it's something that I can see other districts paying to see. So wonderful production. So I want to really thank all the students. I told them I would give them shout out. So Brooklyn, Finley, Piper, Kat, Erica, these young people helped us. They helped me with my students to take them to the restroom. They were very polished, very professional. And the parents should be very proud, and it was a pleasure to be there. I also was happy to see LaMonica Davis and Lori Alameen, different teachers throughout the district with their students. And it was just really great to see the creativity, because I'm not necessarily a creative. And sometimes when you're not a creative, you may not value it as much. So it was good to see that. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to that. And Member Hall, I wanted to talk about Star House. You said a little bit something about Star House in Columbus. And we have Harmony Homes or Harmony House, Carla McDay here, that does something for students when they age out of the system. So that would be great to expand upon something for our young people, because as we know, we have Project Rise in a district that deals with our homeless population. I know last year documented, we had like 3,000 students documented. I'm sure that number could have increased, and those are who are documented. So when we find ways to help to meet those needs and to properly agitate for them that they get the services that they need collectively, both the district and the city working together to provide things to help our young people, I think that would really be great. Lastly, an APS tutor I thought was so cool, and Twig, he goes by the name Twig, and from North Hill, and they were talking about, they were so excited about the gardening and the kids getting engaged with that. And I bring that up only for a point that collectively as a community, whether you're a tutor, I know a lot of people were asking how could they help. I think Member Sykes may have said something in the last meeting, like what is the protocol, how people can come to help to tutor our kids? Where are the signups? And I just don't want us to continue to go past that, because I also seen a parent in the community that showed me her bill for Sylvan Learning Center for 50 hours after they evaluated their child, and it was $3,000 that this single parent would have to pay for those tutoring services. So however we can maximize collectively coming together to help assist our students, utilizing our public resources like our public libraries, and also our community members that are qualified to assist our students. And the more we can get that information out there, it would be greatly appreciated, because I was saddened to see a single parent have to figure out how to pay $3,000 to help their student who is a struggling reader in our district. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Are there any other comments, community reflections? Member Hall.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to piggyback off of you, Carla, I had in my notes too, like since North is my cluster and it's the international district, I would like to see in the future something created where we can train some of the parents, right, that speak English and Nepali, Spanish, Swahili, Arabic, whatever it is, on being translators, because we do have a lack of translators within that district, or they have translators during the day and not in the afternoon, but you still have those kids that don't really speak English, so they're struggling in the afternoon. How do we create some type of training or program for those parents that speak the language that may be looking for a job or a part-time job to be translators? So same thing when you talk about tutoring. Some of these parents may have the education background in their country, but may not be valid here in this country. Like I know at Finley, is it Finley? think so. There's a doctor. She's a family practice doctor in her country, but the United States doesn't honor that. So she works in the schools as a translator, you know? And it's like, wow, you know, we can utilize our community to give our students what they need regarding if it's tutoring or translating, you know? So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hall. I think those are some good points. And I do think we hire some of our like graduates and some of those family members. They do stay with us and help support the community over there. So it's something definitely worth looking into and to try to expand for that community. So thank you for those comments. And so I'll just quickly share, it was mentioned already about the Lion King. I also had the opportunity to attend the performance on Saturday evening. And I was rushing to get there because I saw all these pictures. It was like almost sold out, I think almost every night, but it was definitely amazing. I had a family member participating as one of the lionesses, so shout out to Malia Duck. But it was definitely amazing. I actually had a flashback because my oldest child went to Miller South, and we went to a New York trip and got to see the Lion King. And so they really did an amazing job. Like, it's right up there with the Broadway production, I thought. So kudos to all of those involved with putting that together. And although I didn't get to attend, I wanted to give a shout out to ECLC because the previous weekend they put on Beauty and the Beast. And I saw a lot of great photos and videography around that. So they did a great job as well. I had the opportunity as well, since we last met, to attend a Scholar Voice event. Thank you, Ms. Whitfield, as usual, for helping me stay connected with the students. But this was facilitated by Guidehouse, which is an organization that was working with students through the city after the Jalen Walker murder. And so that organization is supporting us to help develop our Scholar Voice so that we can be better positioned to finance a lot of the things that our Scholar Voice needs. So it was a pleasure to be a part of that, and I hope that we can continue to grow. I think we're expecting some data back from that so that we can, again, be better positioned to get grants. There were like 12 different Scholar Voice groups that they identified that are currently in existence, and some of them overlap with Akron Public School students. But we have a lot of different groups, and I think we need to bring them all together so that we can, the adults, listen to them because we tend to listen and say, okay, we've heard you now, we make the decision. So I'm just happy to be a part of that, to have the opportunity to listen. And then lastly, it was mentioned already about Akron in Action. The ambassadors were amazing with welcoming us to House 330. The East Jazz Band, the Junior ROTC program, the Buchtel Drumline, all of those students participated. And the attendees were just in awe. They were so amazed at what we have to offer. I was able to spend a luncheon with them on their final day. And a lot of them just shared the appreciation for being able to speak directly with teachers, not just about all the great things that are going on, but they were able to also talk about some of the challenges. And so they really appreciated that. And then I was also honored to be able to accept Akron Public Schools being designated as the first in the country a pre-K through 12 college and career academy model. So we are the first in the country, and Ford Next Generation Learning was there to present us with that designation, and I was happy to accept it on our behalf. So it's something we should really be proud of. People are coming from all over the country to see what we are doing. So to the entire team who put on the Akron in Action event, you should be commended. Great job. Marcy Ebright, you did a great job, and thanks again. Okay, so next on our agenda, we do have requests to address the board. Mr. Myron Lewis If you want to approach the podium, participants will not be permitted to speak on matters related to vendors, business matters, formal complaints, grievances, specific students or student records, personnel matters, and/or pending legal matters. Participants must speak on matters related to the business of the board. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The board will not respond, but will assign through the superintendent the appropriate person for follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for joining us. You may
Thank you.
proceed.
Well, it's just a great beginning to hear everybody here, but I just have two areas of concern. The first one, I've been here and I've watched the rollout and the redistricting that we're doing. And I'm just asking the question, is there going to be like a dry run day where families who may be redistricted, they can go and find out where they're going to be before the first day of school? I mean, I have to confess, being a upperclassman on Morehouse's campus, if a young lady from Spelman, a freshman, asked me where she needed to go to class, I would send her on a wild goose chase that I have to repent of now. But the chaos that could happen, because I've talked to some families that really don't know where they're going to, like, for example, Barber. If you've never been to Barber, it can be kind of hard to find. And I'm just wondering if there's a rollout day planned. The second thing is, I was here when they talked about the Chromebook situation. And when I looked at the red line where our children were using their Chromebooks, and then when I heard them say that we are losing paid $2 million for either Chromebook repair, lost Chromebooks, or damaged Chromebooks because of that. That raised my eyebrow. We just sat here and talked about, I just heard you talking about money that we could possibly get. But $2 million, that angered me. You know, I just talked to my friend in Arizona. He said, you know, Lou, when I got out here to Arizona, things are a little different. He said, I used to think about how I wasted water when I was back in Ohio. But now here in Arizona, things are different. And water is a privilege and not a right. And it's become a privilege because of scarcity. And I think that the attitude that we give these Chromebooks to our children may need to be changed. Because I feel that Chromebooks are a privilege and not a right. And we know in this country, we tend to not value rights. Just look at our right to vote, Second Amendment, other rights that we have. So I understand kids are kids, but I think that we as a community need to start telling our children that Chromebooks are a privilege and not a right. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, item 4, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Madam President. We do want to acknowledge today the birthday of our Vice President, Ms. Carla Jackson. So we want to say happy birthday to you. Just to highlight a couple of things that are happening this month. National Nutrition Month, National Employee Day, Appreciation Day, Maintenance Worker Appreciation Day, which we've communicated to our employees, maintenance employees, and thank them for the work that they do each and every day. We're working on a video that we're going to have released at some point soon, where we're acknowledging the work that they're doing. Much of the work that is happening in the school district, sometimes we don't even see what they do, but they are making things happen for us. Sometimes we don't realize that. National Read Across America Day, Dr. Seuss's Day. So I will be going to some schools and reading with our scholars, as I've been doing this year already. Our social work week. And we also want to recognize National Certified Nurses Day, which is on the 19th. And just a reminder to our parents about which we luckily haven't had much to deal with when it comes to bad weather days, but please continue to pay attention to the website and also to our news stations, as well as we would be sending out robocalls and those types of things. Many of these have been highlighted, but I want to bring Marcy Ebright up and just to acknowledge Ms. Ebright and the work that she did and has been doing around the college and career academies. And as a result of that, as President Antrim noted, we have received a designation as a K-12 school district by the Ford NGL community. And we're a part of a network of which I want to say thank you again to Ms. Carrier, the executive director, for the work that they have partnered with us to do. And I want to just allow Ms. Ebright a moment to share what does this really mean for us as a school district. Thank you.
Thank you. So what an amazing 2.5 days we had with our visitors. And not to correct you, Dr. Mulliner, but there were 500 people at opening session and 300 guests that visit our schools and attended conference sessions. And over again, all I heard was our kids blew them away. The biggest compliment I think I heard in the 3 days was towards the end, where Dr. Mike Hansen from the Carnegie Foundation was here, and he works with school districts all over the country and meets with all sorts of thought leaders. This is work that he's done for now 40 years. He's been superintendent of 2 larger urbans twice, and is very well educated about education, and always enjoy speaking to him. And at the end, he said, I don't say this lightly because I've never said it to another district, but I would take any one of my 3 kids and put in your schools. That was such. Our kids had jaw-dropping moments with the audience members that worked with them over the 3 days, from the Community Foundation, Akron Community Foundation, where they were there explaining in depth their middle school experience with nonprofits, our ambassadors and our high school students that met with them in their pathways and gave them tours. It was student-led, student-driven, student-informed. Just an amazing event. I couldn't have hoped for anything better. And I thank you for asking me to come up to explain how valuable this was, but it was done with a lot of really wonderful minds, my staff in my department, leadership here rallying behind to make sure everything happened. If you think about having 300 guests from out of town, that's like planning a wedding for 3 days where you have to feed them, get them in hotels, keep them busy, keep them engaged, and have them leave feeling really like jazzed up about what they just experienced. So it was a major planning event that required a lot of people. I'd especially like to recognize Beth Winter, our coordinator of partner engagement, who had the expertise. We did not lose anybody on any of those buses traveling all over town. And even though I know she was worried about it, but everybody got where they were supposed to be, plus a million other things that she organized to make everything successful, right down to having popcorn snacks on the last day. And we also had Marcia Pullman, who is our communications manager and for the district, and she just dug in and made us look so polished, so professional, and so put together, like we had been doing this for 30 years and still being in our infancy. The recognition from Ford as the work that we do here, they have a couple of districts that they do site visits to, Akron Public Schools being one, and Nashville Public Schools, which is where we learned about college and career academies, as another. And they've been at it for 20 years. They come to see us because we're still early on in this work, right? We've only graduated two graduating classes. This will be the third class that's graduating this year that has finished 4 years of college and career academies. I know sometimes we say we're 7 years in, we think 7 years of kids, but it's kids who have finished. We're only 3 years in the middle school, so our rising freshmen this year will be the first class that have done all the middle school work. Our freshman academy teachers are planning now for receiving that group of kids who've had a different middle school experience than they've had in years past. And looking forward for elementary, our middle school teachers will be, as that program builds up and those opportunities build up, same thing. It's all just going to build upon each other. So we, with your leadership and your continued support and your support all this time, have really done great things. They were blown away by our graduation rates. They were blown away by the work that the credential attainment of our students. There were so many positive outcomes just telling the story from where we started and to where we are today. So that is why we had Akron in action. And even though Dr. Robinson came up on the very last day as everything was done and said, we're ready to do it again, and we all said, nice knowing you, but we will love to do it again in the future and host even more people here to see our schools and see where we're at as we move along this journey some more.
Thank you, Ms. Ebright.
Thank you.
And thank you to your team. Just to let everyone know that Dr. Halasa, who is our social studies supervisor, science, I'm sorry, thank you. She is preparing for April the 8th. So schools, there will be glasses coming to your schools. Those have already been ordered for all the students in the district. And there'll be activities as well. That information will be on the website. So, but we will communicate with parents and families to let them know when the information has been received. On Saturday, March the 2nd, the Miller South Show Choir traveled to Salon High School to compete in the annual Salon Show Choir Invitational. And the Miller South Show Choir was chosen by the judges as the middle school grand champion. They were also awarded both the champion awards for best vocals and best choreography. In addition, Caleb Woodley was recognized as the group's best performer. And so congratulations to Miller South and Mr. Paul Stewart, the vocal music teacher there. I also want to recognize Ms. Rachel McCann, who is the theater teacher at Miller South, who, along with the entire staff there, Ms. Anderson, the principal, I really don't have any words that I could say beyond stellar for the experience that I had on Saturday when I went to see The Lion King. There is absolutely no reason why our kids shouldn't be on Broadway. Just to let our families know, our parents know, our scholars know that in the past, prior to COVID, we did charge. After COVID, we did not. So just to let you know that we really will need them to do the best they can in trying to secure their academics during the regular school year, because there will be a charge for classes coming up. And so information should be sent home to our families, letting them know about that. I also had the opportunity to judge the Black History Door contest at Litchfield, which was awesome. and also had an opportunity to attend the Torchbearers 21st anniversary celebration, where they honored Mayor Shamus Malik, who is an alumnus of that. And so I just want to say our Be Kind for today. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the screen, but our scholars are spreading kindness each and every day. And just a few examples. Tiffany Jones, a third grade teacher at Cyberling, shared this story. A student in her third grade classroom asked permission to share his Friday popcorn with a friend. This student told this teacher, "My mom says sharing is caring." The student who the popcorn was shared with said thank you, and the students enjoyed their popcorn together during Fun Friday. And the next Be Kind is an example that comes from our pre-K scholars, of which, if you did not get a chance to see Akron in action, our pre-K scholars were magnificent at Akron in action. And they sang and songs related to careers, college and careers, and did an exceptional job. But our pre-K scholars, perfect complement to our pre-K presentation. And if we're able to see the video, Scholar Mahogany, who is a student in Miss Kulik's classroom at Essex. This is a perfect way to end the report, and also another example of how our scholars are spreading kindness messages.
What does it mean to be kind?
First, it means being kind means do not push them. Because if you push your being mean, and do not talk mean to them, because you're being mean to them, you're supposed to talk nice to them and take care of them. And your kids and your puppy, if you have a dog, and being responsible means up trash if it doesn't matter, so throw it in the trash. So don't just tell your mom, I didn't even do it, I have to do it in the trash. It will do it because if he pick it up, he should have the trash.
Sorry we weren't able to really hear all of it, but even our youngest scholars are actually teaching all of us about what it means to be kind. Thank you.
Yeah. The don't push part.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
I just want to, if I could add one thing. STEM High School, they competed this past weekend in the VEX robotic team competition, and they came in first place down in the state. So we need to make sure we give them a shout out as well.
State champs. Thank you. And so now we will move on to item 5.1. And this is the approval of our meeting minutes on Monday, February 26, 2024. And so,
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Member Sykes.
Thank you. Before we start to vote, let me just remind Madam Chair and the members that our last meeting that we had was the special board meeting on March 2nd. At the end of that meeting, we only had 3 members left, so we were not able to adjourn. So what we should do, Madam Chair, my recommendation is that we need to officially adjourn from our special board meeting before we start to vote during this meeting in order for us to make sure that we are conducting business per Robert Rules of Order. So So we do need to adjourn from the special board meeting that we had on March 2nd before we have not taken any votes. You could ask an attorney. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm just remembering that we did not adjourn. So we do need to adjourn, and
Okay, so they didn't cover this in the training we had, right? But we did get to use some of that training, as Member Sykes stated, at the end of this special meeting. We had an operational adjournment because we didn't have quorum, which we did learn.
Actually, we recessed. We could not adjourn because we did not have the majority of members present to adjourn. So we did recess. You did note the time that we recessed, but we do now, since we have the majority, officially we need to adjourn that special meeting before we start any voting during this meeting.
And so now that we have quorum, we will entertain a motion to adjourn from the Saturday, March 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Akron Public Schools Board. Is there a motion to adjourn from that meeting?
A motion.
It's been moved by Member Sykes. Is there a second? By Member Hall.
Can point of clarity. Just to be clear, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm putting it out to the group. If someone wasn't here at the end of the meeting, can they vote to adjourn? And if they can't vote to adjourn, then you'll never have a quorum.
Yeah. Yes, they can.
They can, okay.
Yes, you can.
So it's been moved by Member Hall. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Sykes. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Sure. Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
I'm glad we adjourned. I've been thinking about that board meeting ever since. I couldn't stop. So now we're finally done. We are adjourned, I guess, officially.
Thank you. And so now we have the regular meeting minutes from the...
Do we need to change the minutes now for 5-2 because the minutes on 5-2 said that we did not adjourn? What is the...
Yes.
So I think it'll reflect...
On this, it will reflect on this meeting's minutes.
It'll reflect on this meeting's minutes. And so now we are at the meeting minutes for the Monday, February 26, 2024 meeting of the Akron Schools. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Alexander. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been seconded by Member Hall. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we will have approval of the meeting minutes from the special board meeting on Saturday, March 2nd, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Member Sykes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Molnar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next is our personnel recommendations. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to recommend the approval of the personnel recommendations presented in categories 6 through 17, please.
Is there a motion to approve the personnel recommendations?
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. Molnar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Member Hall. Is there any discussion? Madam Vice President?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These resignations, I know that often it reflects retirement and resignations. I'm always concerned when teachers resign at this time of year. And these are core classroom teachers. And I know this is not the time, but I just wanted to make note of that because I would just like some insight because every month I'm seeing more and more resignations, and I'm just trying to see it begins to seem like a pattern, and I'm wondering why is there a pattern of teachers resigning, because it's a big difference between resigning and retiring. And so that if it's something, the young man, the board member talked about recruitment today, and I think recruitment and retention is a problem because that leaves students without consistency if that teacher opened up that classroom. So I just wanted to bring attention to that, and if we have any information to give further insight, even if not at this moment, I just wanted to be on the record with saying I would like just some insight on this and how we can better assist, if we can better assist in any way as a board for teacher retention.
Thank you. You have a comment, Dr. Robinson?
Oh, I was just going to note that 2 of these resignations was because they are going to be staying at home with their families.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we will have the approval of resolutions and motions in the consent agenda. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, President Archery. I would like to recommend the approval of the resolutions and motions presented in Category 22. They are in the proper format, and I move for there to be approval of those. And I just want to also acknowledge, as it's stated here, the many donations that we receive each and every time we are meeting. So thank you to our partners.
Thank you. I also want to take a moment when we talk about donations because United Baptist Church also blessed the Bookdale Cluster with the funds that they received from the marathon they ran. And so I wanted to acknowledge our community church and them giving back to the local community schools within the cluster that they're located because I think that's how excellence looks different, and that's how they show they're invested in our community and our children. So I want to thank United Baptist Church, the membership, and the pastor, and for having a heart to give to our children. Thank you.
Please note also within the consent agenda is item 19.1, which is policy 0155 committees as a second reading. And is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make the motion.
It's been moved by Vice President Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? And we did learn in our recent training that the consent agenda, we shouldn't actually be discussing things, right? That's something we pull out. Yeah. And I'm just making note of that because that's something new that we learned. So seeing none, roll call, please, Dr. Thompson.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next is our business affairs recommendations. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Archery. I'd like to recommend approval of the business affairs recommendations presented in Category 24, please.
Is there a motion to approve the business affairs recommendations?
I move to approve.
It's been moved by Member Perry. Is there a second?
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Member Alexander. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next is President's Report, and I just wanted to thank my colleagues for their continued commitment to being the best version of ourselves by attending our most recent training. And so we do have an additional training coming up in April, and we will just pick up kind of where we left off. If there's anything additional that you would like to see covered, please let me know so that I can make sure our presenter has that information. And so that is all that I have. I will move on to Treasurer's Report.
No report.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Member Sykes.
Point of personal privilege, please. I was going through this point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going through this agenda, and it was a new agenda, different than the one that I highlighted. And so I was looking for the redistricting plan. And so I'm asking what has happened with the redistricting plan, the redistricting and restructuring plan. It was on my agenda as of today, earlier today. And even though our committee, even though our bylaws may not mention how soon we should expect an item to be pulled from the agenda, I would think that it would certainly not be the day of the meeting. So I would like an explanation as to what has happened with our redistricting and restructuring plan.
Thank you, Board Member Sykes. We will be bringing that on the 25th to the board after we spoke with our attorney today. We will be bringing the plan to the committee meeting, and there's some discussion that we're going to have around the policy that the board has so that we're able to move forward to get the work done.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Madam President, so I'm told that there were some different conversations that took place earlier today that announced to the board members that this was being pulled. So I am concerned about our open meeting rules in that there should be adequate time given not only to the board members but to the public and to the media. And I am really concerned about this. Could you please tell me at what time today was this pulled from the agenda?
So I believe we all received an email this afternoon, and it was upon consultation with our legal counsel. So I did, in fact, learn at the same time as my colleagues. But apparently there was a concern brought forth, and upon consultation with our legal counsel, we chose to follow that legal advice.
Madam Chair, I would just say that I am really disappointed that this has happened. I still think that it is in violation of our open records. It's in violation of our open meetings. It's in violation of the Sunshine Law. And I want to put that on the record. I want to express my concern. And I think that it has been handled inappropriately and illegally.
And that is noted. And so we will move on to our committee reports, legal contracts and board policy. Dr. Molnar.
Yes, the legal committee has not met since our last meeting, but in 19.1 board policy development, we did have a second reading of our 155 committee's policy, and the legal committee will be meeting again next Monday. The agenda has been posted.
Thank you. Any questions for Legal, Contracts, and Board Policy Committee. Moving on to Finance and Capital Management Committee. Mr. Perry.
No report. However, we are meeting next Monday, March 18th at 4:30.
Madam President, thank you. I would just note that we are meeting next week on the 18th at 4:30. We have asked the treasurer if he would bring us information and give us some idea as to the impact that vouchers would have made on this school system. So we want to take a look at how many children have left this system, come back to the system, but yet the money stays with another school system. We want to look at the impact that vouchers have made on the transportation and various other areas of concern, because as I said a few weeks ago, I think vouchers, when we talk about lack of resources, inability to do the things that we want to do in our community, and particularly in this school system, that it has so much to do with the laws that are being implemented, that are being voted on in Columbus, and taking so much of our monies out of our public school system and going to vouchers. So I think this is a significant meeting on the 18th at 4:30 here in this room. I would encourage the community to listen in. You can listen in as you are now, or you can come down and participate, because this is very, very important to understand how we got where we are, to understand the amount of tax dollars that we pay in this community that is going out of this community to other communities and within this community, but they are not being spent on public school children. This is public money that is not being spent on public school children, and we need to figure out what, if anything, we can do to stop it, because that is the enemy. The vouchers that's leaving our public school system is actually the enemy within this school system. So I would encourage everyone to please come back for the meeting on, is it Wednesday? Next Monday at 4:30, or to listen in so that we can have a better idea, understand this process, and start to actively participate in stopping our public funds from going out of our community for non-public school children. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment as well what Mrs. Sykes is saying. I was in Columbus a few weeks ago, and I was looking at some of the policies that were, some of the legislation, there were House bills that were being presented, and it was concerning because all of it was for other schools, and really bothered me because it wasn't for the public school system. So we need to make sure that the community, we need everyone to get involved with this here, because all of our tax dollars are not being spent on our kids like we want to here in our Akron Public Schools. We pay the money for our kids to go to Akron Public Schools, but the money's not here at Akron Public Schools. It's going here, there, and everywhere. So we need to make sure that we keep track of that too. That troubled me when I looked at a lot of those bills, and even when I looked at who the individuals were who were backing those bills, and so it was really concerning to me. Thank you, Madam President.
Dr. Molnar.
I agree with Member Alexander and Member Sykes about the importance of learning about levies. However, next Monday, I also think it is timely and critical for our district, based upon conversations in previous meetings, to have an LTOP update. We voted on an LTOP plan that was presented by our treasurer that included the closing of buildings, and I know that it has been discussed in previous meetings, potentially reopening those buildings, and so changing what our LTOP plan that we already voted on would be. So the Finance Committee could potentially look at the cost of those things. Additionally, part of the LTOP update was long-term operational planning, sorry. So our long-term operational planning and our financial health and well-being as a school district. Part of that also included a mention of like $15 million in cuts, and also we aren't on the ballot for March 19th, but we've discussed a levy, so a timeline of some kind. I know it might not be the bulk of the presentation for the Finance Committee, but I do think these are important updates from the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments around Finance and Capital Management Committee? Thank you. Next, we have Instructional Policy and Student Achievement. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just for clarity, if I may, in regards to the email that was sent, the question that was posed. So at 1:44 p.m., we received the email that items were being removed. 4.1, redistricting and restructuring plan. 20.2, redistricting restructuring plan 2023-2024, third and final reading. 22.3, resolution redistricting restructuring plan 2023-2024, third and final reading. And to please refresh our board docs to make sure that we have the most updated version. So I received that at 1:44 p.m. that it was sent, just for clarification for those who were watching and wondered about Member Sykes' question. Additionally, for the instructional policy meeting, it was a great meeting. Dr. Halassa is wonderful. It was just great energy. And a lot of parents, and I think Member Molnar, you talked about this the last meeting, curious about what's going on with the Eclipse Day, what are the preparations being had. Superintendent talked a little bit about this. So excited to say that the district has purchased 20,871 glasses. We received a donation from First Energy for our fifth graders. 1,500 pairs will be going to our fifth graders. It is important that was stressed that the learners and anyone in the city have the proper eyeglasses with the proper lenses. It's very technical. ISO 12312 specifications for the Eclipse. And the reason being because I saw a lot of different YouTube videos where it was telling you can do this and put something through a cup, and just different ways that they were saying people might want to observe the eclipse. So I just want to be mindful for parents, grandparents, and community members that you're very intentional to get the proper eyewear, because you can cause damage to your eyes that won't manifest until years down the line, right? So I wanted to warn against that, and they talked about that. Teacher resources for each grade level will be given out at least a week before spring break. A post-eclipse contest, Ms. Halassa was telling us about, which is going to be cross-curricular, and so they're still trying to work those things out, and it should be posted a week before spring break, and it will have prizes and things like that, so that information also is forthcoming. I think it was Jonah O'Neill, or Joanne O'Neill, a district instructional coach, and Katie Lobby are people who are also working with Dr. Halassa to make this happen. So it's very exciting to engage our learners and our families on a historic event, because as I understand it, the last time that this happened in Akron was 1806. And so the next time that it's anticipated for us to have such an event is like in the next 99 years. And so, I may still be alive because I got good genes, but no, joke. But yeah, so another 99 years. And that's pretty much all, because you talked about the College Careers Academy, so I don't want to belabor the point. All that was already shared. And someone, the community member that addressed the board about the Chromebook statement, that also was discussed in the instructional policy meeting about the technology and looking at ways to possibly that learners will, we're looking at ways that the Chromebooks may remain in the schools instead of going home, that may be, so a plan, they're working on a plan that would be advantageous for both the district and the learners. And as a person in education, I do understand how students take the Chromebooks home. They don't charge them. They bring them back. They lose parts. So that is something that they're trying to work out to kind of help that $2 million that we're spending on lost and damaged Chromebooks. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Instructional Policy Committee? Member Hall.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Carla, or Dr. Jackson, sorry. When you talk about the Chromebooks, maybe staying at the schools, also I think we should look into maybe when you get to a certain grade, you should be able to take the Chromebooks home, because maybe in high school they may have a little bit more things that they need to do on their Chromebook, but maybe for the elementary school and the middle school, may want to keep them at the school.
This is only for elementary.
Oh, this is only for elementary. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for instructional policy? Dr. Molnar?
I believe it might have been an older version of our agenda. There was a presentation about the elementary plan. Is that moving to the instructional policy committee? I don't know. Because it was on an early version of this agenda. So if it's going to the instructional policy committee, I'd love to view it there.
Well, I think we can view anything that we've seen presented in the meeting if we ask the person who presented it. I think it can get emailed to you if you want it, Member Molnar.
It was taken off the agenda, so it wasn't presented.
Any other questions? Next, we have Equity Committee. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met on March the 4th. Those present was Dr. Chapman, Ms. Hall, Dr. Molnar, Ms. Alexander, Dr. Robinson, and myself. And we got a very good report from Dr. Chapman and Ms. Alexander again. Our meeting wasn't that long. It was short, but it was really detailed. And so they talked to us, first of all, about the advisory committee and all the recommendations that the advisory committee made to them to help to roll out this DEI work that they're trying to do within the district. And it involves the portrait of a culturally responsive staff, educator, and leaders. And so that means all of the staff in the district, embedding this equity work within the district of all those individuals who work with them. They also talked about the committee, the district-wide committee. It was 39 members that made up teachers, administrators, learning specialists, instructional coaches, human capital staff, amongst those individuals, and they were being involved with this work and being trained. The part of the blueprint, the cornerstone of excellence of Cornerstone, the blueprint, there are two areas that this was part of as well, the culture of safety and belonging, and number two, academic achievement, which is very important. Both of those are important. And I also want to state that we talked about champs in the classroom, but how that is related to what's going on. And there's also a book that they have that is entitled Discipline in the Secondary Classroom. And the work that they're doing with the champs and this is to help a lot of our new teachers are coming in. They're getting trained in all this here, and we have to figure out how can we get others who are already teachers to get this training so they can use this here training and with the students that we have, and not just with the students, with each other throughout the district. There was an article also in the paper that had Dr. Chapman. It was a really good article, and it talked about the portrait of a culturally responsive educator, staff, and leader, and the framework for the work that they're doing with the training of all staff. It talked about the recommendations of the advisory committee, and it also stated how this equity work is not just the easy work, it's difficult work, but it's work that needs to be done within a school district if you want to advance your school district. It's also evidence-based, it's research-based, and it's part of ongoing learning for all of our staff. It was a very good meeting. It was short, but it was really good. And I think that if we want to look at some of these things and ask some of the questions or go back and look at the article that was in the paper, I think it's leading us in the right direction. This is the work we need to do. Equity work is always work that we need to do because it involves and includes everyone. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Are there any questions for Equity Committee? Thank you. There is no unfinished business. I don't believe we have any new business, but there is a need to recess into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider the employment of a public employee or official. Is there a motion to recess into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Alexander, seconded by Dr. Molnar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Ms. Autry,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes,
Yes.
Dr. Molnar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. It is 7:01. We will recess. If you could please report in 5 minutes, take a restroom break, whatever you need to do. Thank you.